All right, today is fuel injector day. After about 2, maybe possibly 2.5 weeks, we finally got these puppies in from LA area, California. I guess there were weather delays in the mail, etc. So hopefully I've got everything I need here. A little bit of water, clean up, compressed air. I've already loosened up one side, one bank on the fuel rail from previous, which I said was about 3 weeks ago, 2.5, something like that. So I left the fuel injectors in there just to plug the hole, make sure no debris, pests, whatever get inside. And I'm not going to loosen up the other side until I get this one completed. I don't want to lose track of parts and what I'm doing in the sequence, so forth. So I'm going to pull one out at a time, clean the port receptacle, whatever you want to call it, as best I can. I've already blown it out with compressed air. I wanted to make sure there was no debris sitting around the base, so when I pull it out it drops in. So I got that accomplished. So I'll pull one out at a time and then clean it, the port up, and then insert the new one. Now on the new one, I'm just going to use some motor oil to lightly lubricate the O-ring and set the puppy right on in. Put it back in the same direction as the one that I'm taking out. And basically you just want to make sure that the electrical connectors are pointing in a area that are accessible to the connector. And I doubt I will be able to film this because it's very close quarters. I'm up here on my knees leaning over this engine, and it's pretty darn hot. I don't have any shade in this area, so I don't want to pour a little GoPro here to heat up again like it did previously. So as I get a couple done, I'll film a little bit, and as soon as we get the bank done, we'll tighten it all back up. One thing though, I do still have to kind of clean up. The studs came out of the upper, or not upper intake, the studs came out of the lower intake manifold that hold the fuel rail on. So I've got to blow those out with compressed air. And I might put just a dab of sealant in there when I put the stud in next time. Yeah, I don't know. Wish I had something that was hardening but not hardening, if you know what I mean, to put those studs in with. We'll see. That's it for now. By the way, the injectors are 24-pound 4-hole pattern. I don't know if you can see it, if it's going to focus or not. Anyway, 4-hole pattern fuel injectors, and they're the F1TE D5A, which apparently is pretty popular, or was pretty popular. So they should be available everywhere, and the numbers match exactly. So fit, form, and function. New ones are looking good. So as I pull the injector out, when the O-ring starts to raise up, then I take my compressed air and blow it off some more, because as the O-ring comes up out of the seat, it's going to dislodge dirt. And once again, we don't want that dirt to fall back in to the cylinder. So I do my best. So as I pull it up, I'll spray it off some more. Then after I get it out, what I'm doing is just taking some shop towels here, spraying a portion of it with the carb choke cleaner, and then cleaning it out manually from as best I can. Then I just inspect it with a flashlight. They're not terrible, but they're definitely well used. Of course, I can't see a need. I don't see a need to check every single one to see if it's opening or clean. What I'm going to do is probably send them off to get them rehabbed, because they still have a value. Be nice to have a backup. And earlier I was talking about lubing up the O-ring with motor oil, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I just put a little bit of oil on the cap and just lightly lube up the O-ring. Then I put just as much as I can inside the opening, just with my finger. And then insert the fuel injector and lightly, well, the fuel rail's in the way, so I'm going to have to set this camera down. But basically, just set it in the, or push the fuel injector in until the O-ring seats well. You'll feel it. One I did pull out to verify it because it kind of felt like the O-ring might have slipped, but nope, it didn't. So let me set this camera down and get that fuel rail out of the way, and then as you press the fuel injector down to be seated, just give it a light wiggle in a circular pattern. It eventually will go in and you'll feel it seat. Alright, well, this is day 2. Yesterday I had a problem, not really directly fuel injector related. Yeah. So this one stud here, which looks longer because it is, it's not the original. The original broke as I was putting it back in to attach the fuel rail, and luckily it broke. It wasn't flush, so I was able to get a pair of vice grips on it and heat it up with some MAP gas, and or heat the housing up, not the bolt, and I was finally able to work it loose. And taking a look inside, I saw the threads. Well, they were just completely wonked. I don't know how these things happen. It came out initially okay. So anyway, had to go get first I had to identify what size bolt it was. Took me quite some time to figure out it was a 1/4 by 20. And then when I tried to use the die that I've got to verify it, it just didn't seem to want to work. So traveled into Home Depot to use the little chart that's hanging on the post next to nuts and bolts, and verified it was 1/4 by 20, and picked up another tap at that point. I had one here, but just to make sure. And then I get back here and I get the tap in there and I cleaned out the threads. That went pretty good. But then I realized the tap was bottoming out in the hole before it was fully cutting all the way through. So a little bit of research, I learned quite a few things new, that there's different types of taps. I had a tapered tap. What I needed was a bottom tap. So I've ordered a bottom tap. So when that comes in, before I put anything else on here, I'll run it through all the way to the bottom and see if I can get this new stud that I created here. Basically, it's just a stainless steel screw that I cut the head off. See if I can get this puppy in further. It is on there quite firm, and it may last, but I'm not all that happy with it. So like I said, the bottoming tap, or bottom tap, will come in day after tomorrow, and it's okay, I can wait. Other than that, I did get all the fuel injectors on this side in. Everything went well. The little bit of a trick I learned on seating the fuel rail over the O-rings on tops of the fuel injectors. You've got to press down quite hard once you line everything up one at a time, and you'll feel it kind of pop or slide down over the O-ring. So it's in a couple different points, I guess you'd say. First you want to put the fuel injector in, seat it in, and then you want to put the fuel rail on and seat it on the fuel injector. And of course, since it is a straight bar, there's no flex, you got to kind of do them all at once, even though you're putting different pressure at different points to get them firmly seated. So that was a bit of a chore, first time I ever done this. And I got the other side opened up, got all the connectors off, got the fuel rail off, and I've got the fuel injectors out. And I'm cleaning up the seats the best I can. I don't have a seating tool, which probably should, but then I'm always concerned about debris going into the cylinder head, so I'm just using shop towel and some gum out here, or yeah, gum out carb cleaner, spraying the shop towel and basically twisting it around inside. So right now I've got one injector in, and I'm going to get the others in, get the fuel rail situated, get everything buttoned up as best I can. Then it's just a matter of waiting on that one bottom tap. And before you ask, well, why didn't you just go to the store and buy it? There are no taps like that in this area. Yeah, I could do it. I'd have to drive 90 minutes to one of the coasts. But mid-Florida, they just stock what they think you're going to need, or they sell the most of. Nothing, not one of these one-off items. I checked Harbor Freight, checked Home Depot, checked Lowe's. That's it. There's nothing else. So at that point, it was just easier to order from Amazon. I'm not going to spend 3 hours on the road just to get a tap and come home. That's still a waste of a day. So we'll get these injectors in on this side. And finish up this task. Then I can start cleaning up all the other parts in anticipation of getting them back in.